The next morning, I was halfway through my coffee when a convoy of county vehicles rolled down our street. 3 sheriff cruisers, 1 unmarked sedan, and a city code inspector van. Doors opened, uniforms stepped out, and the entire neighborhood came pouring onto their lawns like a silent audience, waiting for justice. Karen came rushing out of her house in her usual pastel robe, clutching her phone. "This is harassment," she shouted. "You can't just barge in like this. I'm the HOA president." One deputy held up a clipboard. "Ma'am, we have a warrant to search the HOA office and your residence for financial records." She tried to snatch the paper, but he pulled it back. "You're welcome to read it at the station." The look on her face shifted from outrage to panic. She said, "You don't understand. I have friends in the mayor's office. The officer cut her off. "Then you can call them from booking." The crowd gasped as she was cuffed right there on her front lawn. I'll never forget the sound of that coffee cup shattering on the pavement when her hands were pulled behind her back. For years, she'd made everyone in this neighborhood feel small. People cried, sold their homes, or lived in fear of her constant threats. And now, the silence was almost too satisfying. One of the inspectors opened the HOA storage unit and started hauling out boxes, files, receipts, even envelopes stuffed with cash. "Looks like someone's been running a little side business," he muttered. The sheriff walked over to me. "You were right to record everything. She's tied to at least 4 other neighborhoods pulling the same scam. You didn't just save your street, you saved half the county." For a moment, I didn't know what to say. My wife squeezed my hand and whispered, "You did it." Karen, sitting in the back of the cruiser, tried one last time. "You think this ends with me?" She spat through the window. I leaned down so she could hear me clearly. "Yeah, I do. Because the truth doesn't take orders from an HOA." As the cars drove off, neighbors started clapping. Not the loud, cheering kind, just slow, steady applause that carried relief. That evening, the sunset hit the houses with that golden calm we hadn't seen in years. For the first time, it felt like our neighborhood again. Final viral line, "She built her empire on fear. One video turned it into dust."
That night, just past midnight, I woke up to the sound of gravel crunching outside. At first, I thought it was the wind or maybe a stray car turning around, but then I saw headlights, off, creeping slow. Someone was in my driveway. I slipped out of bed and peeked through the blinds. 2 men in dark jackets stood by my mailbox, whispering. One held a flashlight, the other a crowbar. My stomach tightened. I turned to my wife. "Call the sheriff, now." Before she could grab the phone, a loud bang echoed from the porch. The door frame shook. Another hit, harder this time. They were trying to break in. I grabbed the bat from under my bed and moved quietly to the hallway. My heart pounded, but I stayed calm. I'd been through worse. I waited for the next bang, timed my steps, and swung the door open just as one of them raised the crowbar. "Back off!" I shouted, the bat raised. The men froze for a second, then ran. They jumped into a black SUV with no plates and sped off. When the sheriff arrived minutes later, he scanned the area, then looked at me. "You got enemies in this HOA, don't you?" "I only have one, and she's running out of moves." He took my statement, but before leaving, he lowered his voice. "You didn't hear it from me, but Karen's name's already on our radar. Fraud, forgery, maybe worse. Just watch your back, all right?" The next morning, I found a notice taped to my door again. It read, "Unauthorized activity on community property. Final warning." Except it wasn't on HOA letterhead. It was handwritten. And at the bottom, one word was underlined 3 times. Eviction. I snapped a photo and sent it straight to the sheriff. Then I printed copies of everything, emails, bank records, security footage, and drove to the county office myself. If Karen wanted war, she just declared it on the wrong man. That evening when I got home, she was waiting on the sidewalk, perfectly composed. Sunglasses, coffee cup, that fake confidence. "You really think you can embarrass me?" she hissed. "You don't understand how this works." Oh, I do. It works until someone turns the lights on. Her smirk faltered the first time. Viral line, you can't intimidate a man who's already lost his fear.
The night it all began, we heard the sound of metal scraping against concrete, that eerie kind of noise that pulls you out of sleep before your mind catches up. My wife thought it was just raccoons again, but when I stepped outside, I froze. There, in the pale beam of my porch light, stood 3 men in HOA vests, spray painting "code violation" across our driveway. I shouted, "Hey, what the hell do you think you're doing?" One of them didn't even flinch. "Order from the board," he said, without turning around. "Your mailbox doesn't meet standard height." It would have been funny, if not for the fact that we'd replaced that mailbox a week ago, under their direction. I pulled out my phone and started recording. "You're vandalizing my property," I said, my voice calm but sharp. The guy in front turned, eyes hidden under his cap. "You can file a complaint," he said smugly, "but the board doesn't take kindly to non-compliance." That word, non-compliance, started showing up everywhere after that night. In letters, texts, even slipped under our door. At first it was small stuff. Trim your hedges, move your car off the curb. But it grew darker fast. One family found their tires slashed. Another woke up to their water line cut. It didn't take long for whispers to start. Everyone blamed the HOA president, Karen Daly, a woman who treated the subdivision like her personal kingdom. She'd show up unannounced at people's doors, quoting rules that didn't exist. "You can't have blinds that color," she told the Millers once. "They disrupt the neighborhood harmony." No one argued with her after that. People were scared, really scared. But when she came for me, she crossed the wrong line. I got a letter one morning claiming I owed $18,600 in community adjustment fees. It didn't say for what, just that payment was due in 7 days or further action would be taken. I laughed at first until I saw the notice stapled to my front gate. "Foreclosure proceedings pending." That was the day I decided to dig. And what I found buried under the HOA's glossy newsletters and community reports would blow the lid off everything. Viral hook line. They called it community management. I call it organized crime in khakis. I started with the simplest thing, paperwork. Every HOA has to file annual reports with the county, so I requested copies under public records law. But when the clerk handed me the folder, half the pages were missing. "That's all we received," she said quietly, like she already knew what I was about to find. What was there told me enough. The HOA had made 2 huge maintenance payments to a company named Daily Community Solutions, LLC. Same last name as Karen. I Googled it, and sure enough, the business was registered to her niece, a shell company. She'd been paying herself using homeowner funds. That's when the pattern clicked. Every family that got fined or violated was part of the same area, the one with the largest backyards and clean property titles. She wasn't enforcing rules. She was targeting people for land. I decided to confront her directly at the next HOA meeting. I walked in with copies of the bank records and my phone already recording. The room fell silent as I spread the papers on the table. Karen's smile didn't even flicker. "These are private documents," she said coldly. "You've violated community confidentiality." I leaned forward. "You've violated federal law." Her eyes darkened. "You need to leave now." "Not until everyone here sees this." I slid the papers toward the crowd. "She's been stealing from every single one of you, funneling dues into her own company." Gasps filled the room. One man stood up, shaking his head. "You told us that money was for park repairs." Karen slammed her folder shut. "That's enough. This meeting is adjourned." But before she could leave, one of the residents, old Mr. Harvey, the quiet retired lawyer, stood in front of the door. "You're not going anywhere, Karen," he said, voice trembling with anger. "You've gone too far this time."
Her hand twitched toward her phone. "If you people think you can accuse me of crimes without consequences—" I cut her off. "The sheriff's already seen these files." Her face went pale. You don't have any idea who you're dealing with." "Oh, I do. A fraud who's about to lose everything." But as I left that meeting, my gut told me it wasn't over. Karen wasn't the kind of woman that backed down. She was the kind who escalated. And that night, I found out just how far she was willing to go. Viral line: "You can't play queen forever. Eventually, the board flips."